That's right. Welcome in. It is a tradition unlike any other. The 2023, the latest installment of the IdahoSports.com live state girls basketball tournament preview show. We are coming to you live tonight on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account. My name is Brandon Bainey. We'll be with you for the next 90 minutes, 15 minutes per classification, breaking down all of the brackets, all the matchups, all that juicy state basketball info that you are craving. So welcome in everybody that's watching tonight, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. First of all, thank you. We really appreciate you being here tonight. First time we've ever done this on a Monday night. Usually we do it on the Tuesday night before state, but of course, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. So we pivoted, we shifted. We're doing a little Monday night preview show. And so for all of you that are here live, thank you. If you want to give a shout out to your favorite team or your favorite player, drop it in the comments and we'll throw it up on the screen. If you've got a question for us, we'll throw it up on the screen and answer your question as well. And as you're sitting there tonight, if you could hit the like button, if you're on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, hit that share button as well. Share it on Facebook, retweet on Twitter, and hit the subscribe button on YouTube. That helps everybody that can't be here live tonight that wants to watch tomorrow or maybe even Wednesday. It helps them find it a little bit easier. So if everybody could just do that, that would be fantastic. All right. Without further ado, the guy that's been awkwardly just lingering on camera here for the first 2 minutes of this show, Sean Kane is with me. So we are starting with our 4A girls basketball preview. So all my 4A fans, where are you at? I want to know which school is going to get the most shout outs here. Who does everybody think is going to win the 4A girls state basketball tournament? Sean Kane and myself will be broadcasting this tournament for IdahoSports.com, Sean. So let's go ahead and throw the bracket up on the screen here and get into this bad boy. You see, they've kind of flip-flopped it this year. The number one team used to be on the top. They're all the way down on the bottom now. So Shelley is the number one overall seed. It was hairy there for a moment. They had to survive. Basically, they had to survive the third place game at Districts on Saturday night. But Shelley does make it. Blackfoot, the team that beat them in the District 6 championship, is the number 2 seed overall. And right away, Sean, DJ OJ says Shelley's winning. Do you concur, Sean? What do you think?
Oh man, I've liked Shelley all year, but I mean, I could potentially see an all East Idaho final with Shelley and Blackfoot, and Shelley's 1-2 against Blackfoot. It could be tough, but I think definitely Shelley has one of the all around best players in 4A, if not in the state right now on their team in Cannon. And so, when you have a really good player, you have a great chance at state.
Yeah, Brindley Cannon, junior point guard, 5'10", is already committed to BYU as a junior. Amber Whiting certainly knows a thing or two about Idaho girls basketball players. So it's pretty impressive that as a junior, she's already gotten an offer and committed to the Cougars, which means she'll be a Big 12 player by the time she's stepping on campus, which is pretty incredible to think about. Shelley gets Twin Falls in the opening round. Twin Falls also had to survive on Saturday night, Sean. They beat Jerome in a hotly contested third place game. That really could have gone either way, but Twin Falls and head coach Mike Amaya are in. They are full of athletes, but can their athletes keep up with this Shelley pressure defense? I think will be the big question there for the Bruins.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Shelley's got a little more size than what Twin Falls has, and Shelley really can get out and transition very quickly, and I think Twin Falls is going to have a hard time defending that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Twin Falls handles the pressure that Shelley likes to throw at them defensively, like I said. Again, as a reminder, everybody that's tuning in tonight here on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, or Twitter account, it's our live state girls basketball preview show. We'll be talking over the next 90 minutes, 15 minutes per classification. As you're sitting there, you want to hit that like button or share this. That'll help everybody that can't be here live tonight come back and find it a little easier tomorrow or the next day. The most intriguing matchup to me in this 4A tournament, Sean, is that 4-5. Pocatello, the 4 seed, Bishop Kelly, the 5 seed. They actually played in the regular season at the East Idaho Holiday Shootout. You were on the call for that game for IdahoSports.com. BK won 55-52. What do you remember from that matchup?
It was just a back and forth game. Pocatello Thunder have Garza down low. The BK has not down low. They've got two kind of big players down low, and it was back and forth. And kind of the defense was the difference. BK put on a lot more pressure defensively with their guards in the front court in the second half, and I kind of thought that was the difference. They're able to create a few turnovers, and BK is a hot team right now. They're they've won a ton of games in a row, 11 games in a row, and their only loss to a 4A team was at that tournament, and that was Skyline, who didn't even make the tournament this year.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother. Maybe we'll talk about that on the East Idaho Prepcast that we do each week, where we talk about East Idaho sports. Yes, BK is one of the hottest teams coming into state. They were playing Columbia in the District 3 championship last week, Sean, at ICCU Arena in Boise, and they got into a hole early. They were down, 10 points, like within the blink of an eye. They never panicked. And then they pretty much outscored Columbia 2-1, 2 points for every 1 point for Columbia from the second quarter on. So they've also shown a penchant for digging themselves out of early trouble. And you're right. This is all about the battle of the bigs underneath. Kennison Garza at 6'2", just impressive size and good mobility for a player her size as well. She's only a sophomore, so there's room for her to grow for Pocatello. BK's got that 1-2 punch of Addie Heiler and Caroline Knott underneath. And so that will be a battle of the bigs inside. I feel like the winner of this game could potentially give Shelley, if Shelley were to get there, a good matchup in the semifinals. And of course, Pocatello famously split with Shelley this year. Each team won at their home venue, I believe, is how that went.
Yep, correct.
So, all right, top half of the bracket. Let's look at Blackfoot and Columbia, the 2 versus 7. So Blackfoot, the 2 seed coming in, they beat Shelley twice this year. Shelley's 3 losses have come to Blackfoot twice and Pocatello. Blackfoot beat Shelley in the regular season, and then, of course, 58-55 in the district championship game. Shelley had a chance at the game tying 3 with about 10 seconds left. Cannon shot it long. The more I look at this Blackfoot team, Sean, and head coach Ramey Odom, the more I'm just continually impressed. They won the state title 2 years ago, famously were upset by Skyline in the semis last year as they were trying to run it back, and now have all the pieces in place again to make another deep run. It's been a good 3-year run here at Blackfoot.
Yeah, I've been kind of big on Blackfoot all year. You've got some really good players with SB Varaga and Marley Piper have just been scoring tons of points in bunches, and they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough to beat. But on the other side of that, Minico's got one of the highest average scoring girls in the state as well, 24 points I think per game for Carly Lotta. So you've got some high scoring capability on both these teams.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah, this top half of the bracket to me is also very intriguing. Comment from Sam Buffington, our number 1 fan up north. Hi everyone. Just wanted to say thanks for doing this. Hello brackets painting. Hey, good to see you, Sam, as always. Let's talk about Sam's neck of the woods. The Sandpoint Bulldogs come in as the number 3 overall seed. They are the champions of District 1-2. I had a chance to talk to their head coach, Will Love, earlier this morning, Sean, and he told me that they're finally healthy. They had a couple of key players out for a pretty extended stretch of time. If you look at when you watch Kelsey Cessna play, she's got like a huge brace basically on her knee. She's going to have surgery when the season's over. They were missing their 2 senior captains for a little stretch there. So for Sandpoint, they're finally all healthy, and they play basically positionless basketball where all 5 players are capable of bringing the ball up, going down low to score, or stepping back and hitting a 3. And that can be really tough to defend.
Yeah. Up north, they've been called the law firm Stalker, Cessna, and Banks, and I kind of love that name for those 3 young ladies, the law firm. And they both, all 3 of them, average in double digits, and I think it's kind of like selfish basketball, like you said. They're a team kind of willing to do whatever it takes to win. If the one person has a hot hand, they'll let them continue to shoot. And They also play really, really solid defense and don't give up a lot of easy baskets.
Yeah, Aaliyah Strock is kind of the point guard, and then Banks, as you mentioned, is the tallest player. She's about 5'10", and then also they've got Driggs that also averages 9.9 points per game. So Sandpoint really has 4 players basically that average double figures, and that can be tough to defend. Minico, the 6th seed, they've got CJ Lotta, and she is a great ball handler, tremendous point guard, very smooth, just a junior for Minico. In the District 4 championship game, Sean, I was on the call for that game on IdahoSports.com. Minico beat Jerome by 20 to win the district title. And yeah, Lotta played well, of course, but to me, the big X factor for Minico at state could be Audrey Gonzalez, their shooting guard. She hit 5 threes in that game. She finished with 18 points total. She was our IdahoSports.com player of the game. So if Lotta's doing her thing, and they're also getting outside buckets from players like Audrey Gonzalez and some of the other contributors like the Stroud girls, I think Minico could be a sneaky upset pick over Sandpoint.
Yeah, Minico's probably the second hottest team coming into the district tournament, 6-game win streak, able to finish out your conference and take care of business. So they're a team that's on a nice streak here too, and sets up a really good matchup with Sandpoint.
For sure. And then Columbia, the 7 seed, their record is 14-10, but they played a lot of good 5A schools. They played the Boise Brave, which we'll talk about here at the 5A breakdown in a little bit. They obviously played Bishop Kelly twice. They played a really challenging, rigorous schedule. Lexi Robertson's a great shooter for them. Columbia isn't super deep. That's kind of where they've run into trouble this year, is against teams that have deeper benches than them. And so we'll certainly keep an eye on all of that. Who's your okay, Sean, give me your favorite, your dark horse.
Oh, okay.
And just give me your favorite and your dark horse.
Okay, I think if we have to go with today, my favorite's going to be Blackfoot right now, and then my dark horse is, I don't know how much of a dark horse it is, but I kind of think BK is sneakily one of the better teams, kind of peaking at the right time with some kind of depth and senior leadership there. I think they're pretty good.
That's a pretty good combination there. I will tell you, my favorite is Shelley. I'll go with the top overall seed overall. And I want to hear from the 4A fans in the chat. What do you think? Who's the favorite? Who's the dark horse that's lurking? I like Shelley as the favorite. My dark horse, and again, it's not much of a dark horse. I'll take Sandpoint. I do think Sandpoint, I think their trickiest matchup could come against Minico. And then if they get past that, I think the way they defend, they have a really good chance to take it in from there. But I'll go, man, that Pokey BK matchup for sure. I don't know. That's Lisa. Here's a comment, Sean, from Lisa Lazama. She says, BK, all exclamation marks.
Now I wonder if this is the mom of the Lazama, who's one of the guards on the team?
Yeah, Kira Lazama.
She played phenomenal. She was a big difference in that game against Pocatello. So she played some hardcore defense, got rebounds. She's definitely not the tallest girl out there, but found a way to get rebounds and had a pretty impressive game against the Thunder. So yeah, she's a difference maker out there.
Yes, Kira Lazama is a fun player to watch for sure. Yes, BK, Pokey. I think Pokey, I don't know. They don't have a single senior on their team, and they haven't been to state since 2014. So that can always be an eye-opening experience when you first get to state. So I kind of like BK in that first round matchup there as well, because they've been here before and are used to the experience of state. So I'll go Blackfoot, Sandpoint, BK, Shelley. I'll go Shelley, Sandpoint in my final, and I'll take the Russets. This is the Russets' first trip to state as well since 2016 or 17. So pretty exciting times for some new blood here, Sean. Last year, Burley, they're gone. They didn't make it back. Middleton, they're at the 5A level now. Mountain Home didn't make it this year. A lot of new blood this year at the 4A state tournament. Here's Jacob Eck. Bunderson from Pokey is about to go crazy. Taylor Bunderson. She's really played well off the bench for the Thunder down the stretch here.
Yeah, and that's like you said, it's a hard matchup, right? Pocatello and Bishop Kelly is just going to be, it's going to be a coin flip. With Pocatello gets hot from outside the 3-point line, they could definitely find a way to win this game as well.
Yeah, Jacob says also Thunder up. And Paul Ward says Pokey versus Shelley in the championship. I got bad news for you, Paul. They're on the same side of the bracket. So that would be the semifinals. But maybe the de facto championship. I don't know, depending on what happens up top there. But either way, we're very excited to bring you the 4A state basketball tournament from Timberline High School right there in the heart of Boise. And it should be a really great time. Okay, when we come back on our state tournament preview show, we will start breaking down the 3A brackets. We'll bring on our 3A broadcast crew. So stay tuned. We're coming back with more live coverage. It is the 2023 IdahoSports.com Girls State Basketball Preview Show.
We're a valley-wide country store. For 100 years, we've been your number one choice for food, fuel, farm supplies, and just about everything else you could need to get you through your day. We know you work until the job is done, and so do we. For gas on the go, or a little extra to help you get down the road, you can count on us. We are proud to employ your neighbors and to be a cornerstone of your community. We're valley-wide. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We're here for you.
Welcome back to the, here, let's get that 4A bracket off the screen, make that a little better. Okay, let's bring in Lucas Gebhardt. He is part of our broadcast crew for the 3A state basketball tournament. This is going to be, you're going to be on the call with Lance Taylor. I am sending Lance a text right now to see if he's going to be able to join us on the chat. But Lucas, good to have you. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Brandon. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm breaking down the brackets. I'm at home in my element here. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Okay, so we are talking about the 3A girls state basketball tournament. Let's put this, let's start with this comment here from Melanie Clark Olson. Go East Idaho. I don't know if that was for our 4A discussion or the 3A, but I'll tell you what, spoiler alert, there's really good teams from East Idaho in both classifications. So with that being said, let's pull up our 3A state tournament bracket. Right away, when you get a look at this, Lucas, what stands out to you?
Well, I think you hit on it at the top that it's, flipped. So the 1 seed's now at the bottom of the bracket and the 2 seeds up top. So, I think the thing that stands out to me the most when this first came out is, we're using the Max Prep rankings now. So Sugar Salem, Weiser, that 4-5, I thought, I know there's a lot of good teams in 3A, but I thought they could have been ranked maybe a little bit higher. And, even Teton as a 6, you said there's a lot of good teams out east in Eastern Idaho. So Teton definitely a team that could be dangerous in that 6 seed. And really, when I kind of look at this, is I see 6 teams that can potentially go through the state semifinals. With Snake River and Timberlake is the 1 and the 2. I do like them to advance at day 1 and go through to the semis. And then, outside of those 2 games in the middle, I think both those games could really go either way.
Yeah, this is a very loaded bracket. To me, this is the most wide open of any of the state tournaments that we're going to talk about tonight, because Snake River, Timberlake, Parma, even though they stubbed their toe recently, Sugar Salem, Weiser, Teton, really, the 2 teams from Central Idaho, District 4, Filer and Buell, they're the 2 bottom seeds. I think they have the hardest job, only because their opponents in the first round are both really good. But you're right. I think there's 6 teams that can all advance here. So let's start with Snake River. They're the number 1 overall seed. They've got when they're feeling it from 3-point range, they're almost impossible to defeat. Snake River challenged themselves with their schedule this year. And here we go. Our first Panthers fan, Cambrel Dunn, says the Snake River Panthers get it done. 10 years since their last championship. Restore the roar for the Panthers. What do you think? What are Snake River's chances of navigating through this bottom half of the bracket and getting to the championship?
Well, I think they're really good. Snake River's the number 1 team in this bracket for a reason. Like you said, they had a tough schedule this year, win at 4A Blackfoot early in the season and just really ran through this schedule. One of their losses is to American Fork, which is a school out of Utah, and that was only a 3-point loss. Snake River is quite possibly got the best player in the 3A tournament as well. You can maybe argue at some other classifications as well. And Riley Eldelson, she was an all-state player last year, probably will be an all-state player again this year. I think she's probably the best player in this bracket. And then I think the other thing that Snake River has going for him is what that viewer just hit on, is that it's been 10 years since this team has won a state championship. And for a lot of the other schools that are in this bracket, that's sort of the longest drought out of some of the favorites. So I think this is going to be a hungry team. This is a really, really good team. 20 wins on what was an incredible schedule that they had. 20-3 entering state tournament is going to speak for itself.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. So, yeah, you mentioned Riley Edliston, the great point guard. Reese Baldwin can also, fill up the bucket. And Camden Dunn has the potential to really get hot from beyond the arc for sure. Here's Jenny Adams Gilbert. Go Snake River. These girls are amazing. Yeah, all my 3A fans, give your favorite team or favorite player a shout out in the comments, and we'll throw it up on the screen. Or if you've got a question for us, we'll throw it up on the screen as well. And while you're sitting here on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, or Twitter account, if you could, please hit the like button and then also share this, because not everybody is able to be here for the live show. They'll want to come back later tonight or tomorrow or even Wednesday to view this. They'll be able to find it a lot easier if you like this and then share it. That just helps with the social media algorithms. Okay, also on the bottom half of the bracket, we've got Sugar Salem and Weiser. This to me is the best game of the opening round. Weiser is a district champion. They beat Parma in the District 3 final. Sugar beat Teton in the District 6 championship. Lucas, this is a game that I was broadcasting for IdahoSports.com. Sugar got down by 15 points early in that game. They never panicked, slowly chipped away at it. Kennedy Gillette got basically the 2 game-winning free throws with 9 seconds left. Teton had a shot just before the buzzer. It rimmed out. Sugar won 48-46, got that auto bid to state. In the process of that championship game, Kennedy Gillette also crossed 1,000 points for her career, Lucas. So this is a Sugar team coming in with some momentum, but so is Weiser. They just knocked off Parma in the district championship.
Yeah, Kennedy Gillette's a girl that's averaging just shy of 20 points a game coming into the state tournament. So definitely a dangerous player there. But Weiser has 21 wins and they're the 5 seed. So, this is a team that you cannot sleep on. And they just went and won their district tournament. They finished 3rd in the Snake River Valley Conference in the regular season. And then they're playing their best basketball at the right time. They're coming into this state tournament as winners of 5 or 6 in a row. So I'm just glancing at the sheet here. And then the game before that was an overtime loss to Fruitland, which is another good team that didn't end up making the tournament. And Weiser's an interesting team because a win Thursday here would put them in the state semifinals for the first time since 2010. So that's going to be a 13-year run if Weiser is able to win that. So that would definitely be a special win for this program. Sugar, on the other hand, you want to talk about programs that are just battle tested. Up and down this athletic department, Sugar Salem is doing nothing but making runs in state tournaments and winning state championships. They've won, I think it was every single winter championship last year, including girls basketball. State champions coming into this one. So this is Sugar's a team that knows how to win. And, you just look at any program in their athletic department and you can see that. They have athletes that they can throw at you from any different direction, extremely well coached, and Crystal Daly. So, Sugar are definitely a dangerous team. I think that's going to be the game of the opening round. I think that's definitely going to be the best one. And to me, that game's a pick'em.
Yep. Elizabeth says, Parma Panthers, best defensive team in 3A. And not that I didn't believe you, Elizabeth, but I wanted to double check. And you're spot on. Parma on the season allowed 31.1 points per game. Best in the field, best in all of 3A. Weiser not far behind at 33.2. And then Timberlake at 35.2. But man, Parma really gets after you, smothers you defensively. And this is kind of a younger Parma team as well. They went on this great run over the past couple of years with Austin Harris and all these other, and now it's like the next generation of siblings have come through, and it's the same last names, but it's new players.
Yeah, it's 7 sophomores on this roster. They just have 1 senior, so I I believe they're the youngest team in the tournament. And, for Filer, for example, doesn't even have an underclassman on their varsity roster. And meanwhile, Parma's coming in here with 7 seniors and another dangerous team. 19 games is what they want on the year. This is a team that returns Riley Calkins, who's an all-state player, or all-league player, rather, from a year ago. Parma's another really dangerous team. And defensively, I think, is anytime you give up 31 a game, defensively, they always defense wins championships, right? So, there's the best team defensively in the tournament is Parma there at the 3. And that being said, I think they have an incredibly tough matchup with Teton on Thursday.
Yeah, Scott Coons agrees. Teton will blow them out, Scott says. I think it might be closer than a blowout, Scott. But I really do like this Teton team. They've got Porter Wood in the middle. Could give Parma some problems, I think. Porter Wood, even though she's only a sophomore as well, she has good size for the center position. And Teton, I'll ask you right now. Well, let's break down the final matchup, and then we'll talk about underdogs or dark horses and favorites. Timberlake, the 2 seed, Filer, the 7 seed. I think Filer is getting undervalued a little bit. They went 15-9 this year, and they kind of just quietly went about their business. They, played Snake River twice, lost decidedly. I guess it's a good thing that they're not playing Snake River in the first round. But they held their own in their district, and the big wild card is always the teams from the north. Timberlake comes without having played really any of the same opponents as anybody else, so they're kind of the mystery team.
Yeah, and it's sort of interesting the way the Max Prep rankings kind of decides how good these teams from the north are, because they haven't played anyone really from Southern Idaho. They're playing a lot of out of classification games, so a lot of 4A, 5A, even 3A, down to 2A, and then they play a lot of schools from Washington and some from Montana and Oregon occasionally in there. So Timberlake definitely the wild card, only team in the field that has not played another team from this field. So they're the only team that has not played another team that has made this state tournament. Filer, on the other hand, you said it, Brandon, just quietly going about their business. The regular season and the district tournament champions out of the Sawtooth Central Idaho Conference down there in the Magic Valley. This team had a really good month of January. A couple blowouts here and there, but it's only one game, and so if you could put together 4 quarters one time, that's all you need for an upset. That being said, Timberlake's still a very good team. I think Timberlake does end up winning this game, but Filer 15 wins, 15-9 coming into this one. So, and they've been to the state tournament. This is going to be their 4th year in a row that they've been to the state tournament. So an experienced team at that as well.
Yeah, Kimberly was the preseason favorite in that conference. Not only did Filer win the conference, but Buell also knocked out Kimberly for that second and final spot to state. What an accomplishment for first-year head coach Jessica Montgomery, formerly Jessica Tews, one of the best girls basketball players to come from the Magic Valley in the history of that area. So, my favorite facts about Timberlake: they went 8-0 against the state of Washington this year. So they're pretty much the Washington champs, right? And they punched up. They played some bigger Washington schools too. They didn't suffer their first loss of the year, Lucas, until they lost by 4 to Coeur d'Alene, the number 1 overall seed at the 5A tournament. I'll tell you what, because of that, Timberlake is my favorite to win the 3A championship, I think. Who is your favorite and who is your dark horse?
Yeah, I think it's, I do think we just see a Snake River Timberlake final. It's tough to say. I mean, those are your 2 favorites right there for sure. But the favorite is probably going to be Snake River. And that being said, I think a dark horse, I really like Teton in this one. This is a team that went to the state championship last year. Teton's a school that could throw athletes at you. Probably the most athletic team in the tournament. Talking with Lance a little bit before this one, that's he's seen Teton a few times over there in East Idaho. He likes this team a lot too. They're a very athletic team, and those teams are always dangerous, especially if it gets into a track meet as well. So Parma, you look at a school like that, they better knock down some of their shots on Thursday, because they don't. Teton's going to take that ball, run up the floor, and if that thing gets turned into a track meet, Teton could definitely win that game. But I do think the two clear-cut favorites in this bracket are definitely Snake River and Timberlake.
Yeah, Scott says Teton is also young, but all the kids have experience from last year when they played Sugar in the championship and lost. Lindsay says, go Snake. Wonder if she's related to Riley. Trisha also says, go Snake. All right, my underdog. I also kind of like Teton, but I'll say Weiser. Weiser is my dark horse. I think Weiser could find themselves playing in the semifinals, and if they hit their shots, could get to the championship. And then Timberlake is my favorite there. Real quick before we duck out, I also want to highlight it's our 3A players to watch, Lucas. You've got Megan Montgomery from Buell, Jocelyn Bailey from Filer, Riley Calkins from Parma, Riley Edlifson, Snake River, Kennedy Gillette from Sugar, Reese Coons from Teton, Sierra Sumas from Timberlake, and Toby Neuer, the great point guard for Weiser. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just a jumping off point of some of the players that you should keep an eye on. Who's the player you're most excited to see play here at this tournament?
Yeah, I'm over here in Boise, so there's outside of Riley Calkins on Parma and Toby Neuer from Weiser, this will be my first time seeing really any of them. So I'm excited to see Riley Edlifson. I think I think she's, from what I've heard, is that she's legit, is that she's a really good player. And then Kennedy Gillette out of Sugar is another player I'm excited to watch as well. Everything I've heard from her is, lives up to the hype. Just crossed the 1,000-point mark in her career, like you said earlier, and that's definitely quite an accomplishment. So, but I think this is a very deep bracket. Like I said, I could see any one of 6 teams winning their games on Thursday and Friday. I think both those semifinals will be close, and I think there's a lot of really good players in this bracket.
Yeah, we've got some comments coming in. Elizabeth says Riley Calkins agrees with you. Eric Coons, Teton, baby. Reese is a beast. Reese Coons, get ready, Parma and Timberlake. And Alfonso having a good time. Hey, you're a wrestling guy. What do you know about basketball? Because we do our weekly Mat Chat prepcast every week as well. And Alfonso is one of our diehard wrestling observers there. So, all right, Lucas Gebhardt will be calling the 3A state basketball tournament along with Lance Taylor on IdahoSports.com. Looking forward to the coverage from you guys, and big thanks to all of our 3A fans that tuned in. We will take another break, and we will come back with the 2A state tournament preview right after this. You're watching the 2023 Idaho Girls Basketball State Tournament preview special here on IdahoSports.com.
Taking the hard path isn't always easy. It takes courage and determination to do hard things. Quitting tobacco and vaping is possible.
You decide when. We'll show you how. Learn more at projectfilter.org or call 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
That's right. Welcome back. It is the IdahoSports.com State Girls Basketball Tournament preview show. Brandon Maney joined now by Joel Richardson, part of our broadcast team for the 2A State Basketball Tournament. Joel, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm good. Just chilling here in Washington D.C. at the hotel here, doing some work for the full-time job. So.
Yes, that's right. And so you're going to be joining our coverage later on this week for IdahoSports.com at the 2A State Tournament. We have a couple of residual 3A comments I want to get up on the screen. Jacob Eck, one of our great wrestling contributors. I'm just here to cause some chaos. T-Wolves busting up the bracket, talking about Teton, the 6th seed at the 3A State Tournament. And then Scott says, yep, that's what Teton does. Causes chaos. So there you go. Hey, all my 2A fans that are watching here, we want to hear from you. Give your favorite school, give your favorite player a shout out. We'll throw the comments up on the screen. If you've got a question for us, we'll throw it up on the screen as well. And thanks to everybody who's watching on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account. While you're parked there checking this out, if you could hit that like button and then also the share button, that'll help everybody that couldn't be here live tonight circle back later on this week and find it a little easier. So without further ado, Joel, let's go ahead and break out our 2A bracket. And let's start with the number 1 team. It's all the way on the bottom. So the brackets used to have the top team on the top. Now it's all the way to the bottom. I've had to retrain my eyes as I look at this. But this is, I mean, the Melba Mustangs come in as the only undefeated team still playing girls basketball in Idaho anywhere. And they are kind of the overwhelming favorite. They'll get Declo, the 8 seed, right away. But man, this Melba team is so good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, District 3 champs. They defeated a really good Coal Valley Christian 54-44, and they were the defending state champs last year. I think Melba here is a strong. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but Melba is definitely the strong favorite in this 2A. But who knows? But yeah, that first round's gonna be tough for Declo to overcome a very strong Melba Mustangs behind that senior Kendall Clark. No, she's awesome. Can't wait to watch her.
Yeah, and man, when you look at this Melba lineup, they've got so much height. I just don't know how anybody in 2A is going to be able to counteract. It's one thing to take on one player with some size, but when you look at, they've got 5'10", 5'10", 5'10" right across the board. Kaylee Wilson, Hallie Arnold, Kendall Clark. And then, oh, by the way, they've got a 6-foot sophomore coming in off the bench, Tariah Carter, as well. So, man, Melba's got the size and the skill. They, of course, fell short of the championship game last year, lost in the semifinals. So I know Coach Dave Lenz and his girls are very motivated to atone for that. Also in the bottom half of this bracket, Joel, you've got the 4 and the 5. And this, to me, is one of the most intriguing matchups, probably the second most intriguing matchup to me. Ryrie, the 4 seed, Westside, the 5 seed. We were on the call for Ryrie's District 6 championship win over North Fremont. And then we both thought, man, North Fremont is really good. If they got that last spot via the play-in game, it wouldn't surprise us. But we also said it wouldn't surprise us if Westside got that last spot either. North Fremont, after beating Westside twice in the regular season by single digits, lost by 2. So congratulations to the Pirates for qualifying for state. And boy, what do you make of this 4-5 matchup?
I think we've been talking about toss-ups all night. This is one of those toss-ups. I think Ryrie eventually, probably on paper, Ryrie wins this game. But look, Westside's coming with some momentum. Like you said, they played North Fremont a couple of times this year, lost all those games except for the one they had to win. So Westside, hey, they got nothing to lose right there. That 5 seed that kind of barely squeaked into to state. And so they come in with some of that momentum. But I don't know, man. Ryrie, we saw them play, like you said, some great players in that. Brianna Scott, number 0, right? She averaged like 11 points. She's got some size too. Audrey Parkinson, Maddie Andreessen. So some good players on Ryrie. I think Westside has some momentum with that Natalie Lemon, the senior Natalie Lemon, kind of leading the way there. But I think 4 or 5 toss-up, I think Ryrie ends up taking it.
Yeah, Westside went 16-8 this year. They definitely played a challenging schedule, but their losses have come to, they lost to Malad twice in the regular season. Malad went into districts as the 2 seed, and then they went 2-out, which was kind of a head scratcher. We mentioned they lost to North Fremont twice. They obviously lost to Soda 3 times in the district's tournament and regular season. So when you look and you're like, boy, 8 losses. Well, I mean, there's 7 of their 8 losses right there, and they're to all really good teams. So I think Westside is kind of an unknown. And after beating North Fremont, we'll see what kind of momentum they can roll with here. Eric, sorry, I got to bring up one more 3A thing here. Sorry, Joel.
No problem.
All 3A guys are infringing on your time. Eric is a big Teton fan. He says, Brandon, I was told you commented Fruitland was going to beat Teton by 40. I will tell you, Eric, that I may have said Fruitland was going to win. And honestly, I don't remember, but I never put point totals on how much or a team is going to win by. So I will say that I definitely did not say Fruitland would win by 40. That's not something I would say. I don't put point totals on. I just say, yeah, I think this team probably will win. I never put point totals on that. Okay, back to the bracket. Let's go to the top half where we've got Soda Springs, the number 2 seed overall. Ambrose is the 7. Jacob X says Soda is too scrappy. Yeah. Cardinals slaying the Giants. I don't know how much, I don't know how many Giants you can slay as a number 2 seed, Jacob. And Jacob admits basketball is a little foreign to me. I'm trying to figure this out myself. Seems a little bad.
It's kind of like the Chiefs, Kelsey saying everyone doubted us this year. as the number one team in the NFL. Say we got to find a new line for these number one teams to motivate themselves, right? Because no one's doubting the Chiefs, no one was doubting Georgia to win it all, except but players from both teams commented that, right? Oh, everyone doubted us all year. Like, no one's doubting Soda Springs, Jacob. I guarantee that.
Yes. Soda Springs was one of my favorites last year going into the 2A state tournament. They lost to Cole Valley by 9 in the opening round. And then from there, they rebounded to beat both North Fremont and Ryrie to win the consolation title. So this is a Soda Springs team that is very, very talented. Jacob says the Giants was a reference to Melba's size. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense now. Now that makes sense, Jacob.
Yes.
Yeah, when you look at this Soda Springs team, they are definitely guard-oriented. Janetti Garbett, such a great floor general. Zippy Somson might be my most favorite name in the entire tournament. Alexa Moldenauer is also a fantastic shooter. So, yes, it is Soda Springs bringing the guards. We'll see if they can counteract some of that size from some of the other teams. They're going to get an Ambrose team right away, the 7 seed. They won the play-in game over Kellogg on Saturday. They had to go all the way up north to Lewiston to earn that win. So, Ambrose is a team that's battle-tested. Plus, they're in the same conference as Melba and Cole Valley. So, that they saw a lot of good competition this year.
Yeah, I was going to say they were number 3 in that conference, right? Which is nothing to shake your head at. That's really impressive, especially with Cole Valley and having to face Cole Valley and Melba. And their record was pretty good too. So I'd watch out for the Ambrose team. Definitely. That's a great point.
All right, and now the matchup I think is going to be the best in the opening round. Cole Valley Christian, the 3 seed, Grangeville, the 6 seed. I think a lot of people are sleeping on this Grangeville team. They're young, but they're so well coached by Michelle Barger that I think Grangeville is a team that could be really dangerous if anybody overlooks them. Cole Valley, of course, the defending champions. They lost a lot to graduation, but they did bring back a couple of key players. And of course, they had to play Melba 5 million times this year, just like Ambrose did. So Cole Valley is still the defending champs until somebody knocks him out.
Yeah, definitely. I think you talk about Grangeville. There's a reason why they received votes in the last coaches poll that we had, I think, a couple weeks ago, right? People, at least the coaches, respect Grangeville. They weren't, the top, but they definitely received votes. And Michelle Barger, like you said, a really good coach. And I think this is interesting. They're averaging 46 points a game. Opponents averaging 44. So they're right there on offense and defense. I like that. I like that, picking Grangeville as a sneaky kind of number 6, taking out Cole Valley Christian. But man, I don't know. Cole Valley they have 5 seniors and they have that great junior, a couple of juniors and that good freshman Trinity Halsinger. I think number 6, Grangeville is an interesting pick there, but I think Cole Valley Christian, because they're having to face Melba, they know what it's like to win. I think they'll pull out that one, but definitely Grangeville. I like that pick if you were to pick an upset.
Yeah, and you're right. Grangeville might be a year away. Only one senior this year in Natalie Long. Yeah. Grangeville, to start the season, Joel, traveled to both Melba and Cole Valley Christian on the opening weekend. They lost to Melba in the season opener, 56-31. Then they lost to Cole Valley the next day, 57-42. So what's that? A 15-point loss for sure. So, but that was, again, all the way back at the very start of the season. Right. Both teams have gotten better. But the results don't lie either. Jennifer Woods Bunderson says, go Thunder. That's Pocatello. Go Panthers. That's Snake River. Go Cardinals. Soda Springs. Go Grizzlies. That's Grace. So
covered everybody. Jennifer, go everybody.
I'm telling you, East Idaho's got a lot of good teams going over to state this year. It's going to be really fun. Scott says Cole Valley beat Teton in a close game earlier this year. I think that was at the Ryrie Bulldogs shootout. Ryrie hosted an early December tournament where Cole Valley came over and played really well in that tournament. All right, Joel, I will ask you, who is your favorite and who is your dark horse when you look at this bracket?
Yeah, it's kind of cheating, right? But my favorite's going to be Melba. That's not really fair because they're just so dominant, but they would be my favorite. The dark horse, man, I was thinking about this all day, actually, like who could take them out. And I think familiarity would be key here. I really want to go with Soda. I love someone's mentioned Soda's scrappy play, especially their players have great names, but I think familiarity wins out. I think Coal Valley Christian, they've played Melba. They could maybe scout them a little bit better than maybe someone else. And if someone were to beat Melba, I think it could be Coal Valley.
Okay. I will go with, I'm going to co-sign Melba as the favorite. I have to. I will say, you know what? Just to be contrarian, I'll say Soda. Soda's my favorite.
That's great
because you never know. Soda could match up with Melba very well. Soda played a very challenging schedule this year, I'll take Soda as my favorite, and I'll take Grangeville as my dark horse there. Before we duck out, we also want to highlight our 2A players to watch. This is a pretty impressive list here, Joel. Ellie Thorne from Ambrose, and she's a younger player. Yeah. Hadley Fraz from Coal Valley. Bryn Silcock from the Declo Hornets. Madeline Green from Grangeville, just a sophomore. Kendall Clark of Melba, we talked about. Bree Scott, great guard for Ryrie. Janetti Garbett of Soda Springs. And Natalie Lemon from Westside, the great senior that you mentioned as well, Joel. Which player are you most excited to watch?
Again, it's kind of boring, but I want to watch Kendall Clark, right? She's got a couple offers, I think, from to go play the next level. I'm really excited to watch Kendall Clark. You and I saw Bree Scott play for Ryrie, which she was a lot of fun. And I would like to see Bryn Silcock from Declo. I want to see what she can do against this really good Melba team.
Yeah, that's a good one. Bryn Silcock from Declo for sure. One last comment here before we duck out. Paul says, my dark horse is the Ryrie Bulldogs. And yes, they also have very good potential. They've got a lot of great size. McKinley Bond, especially underneath, is tough to deal with sometimes. So
and we've talked about Brandon, right? When you have size in tournaments, when the shots aren't falling, you're in a new gym. Hard to hit those threes, hard to hit those buckets. But if you have some size, go down low for those easy buckets. Size can win out as you go throughout these tournaments. So that's a good call.
Yes. Well, Joel Richardson, you're going to be on the call for the 2A state tournament along with Jonathan Drew. Very excited to see how that all shakes out. And again, every game live on IdahoSports.com should be a lot of fun. Joel, thanks for doing this. We really appreciate it. Now get back to work.
All right. I'm on it. Yeah. Thanks, Brandon. Hey, this was fun. Thanks, everyone. Good luck.
All right. See you, Joel. Okay, we will take another break. We'll come back and preview the 1A D1 girls state basketball tournament with Logan Green and Clay Hatfield. Stay tuned for that. We're back right after this on the IdahoSports.com girls state basketball preview show.
Later.
He's here. Girl, thank you.
Hello?
I was in an accident.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I had my seatbelt on.
Welcome back to the IdahoSports.com live state tournament preview show, girls basketball edition. Brandon Manning joined now by Logan Green and Clay Hatfield, our broadcast team for the 1A D1 girls basketball tournament. Logan, how you doing?
Good. I feel a little out of place here with my naked face. You guys have such thick, luscious facial hair faces, and I'm just over here just trying.
Good thing you're a professional broadcaster. Yeah, that took a lot of effort to spit that out. That was
That's right.
No, Logan's been very busy ahead of the tournament for us for sure. So I totally get it. Clay, goatee looking good. How you doing, Clay?
Yeah, I got the full beard going on. Don't sell me short.
Oh, it's the lighting. I couldn't really see it in the lighting. There you go. Okay, yeah, looks good.
But I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here. It's weird being on this side of things. I'm just used to being a voice, not a face and a voice.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you, taking the plunge and hopping on with us. All my 1A D1 fans, we want to hear you in the comments. We want you giving your favorite teams and players shout outs, and we'll throw them up on the screen. If you've got a question for us, we will also throw that up there as well. Paul Kingsbury coming up in a little bit to talk the 5A tournament says, did he say luscious?
Yes.
I think he did. Yep. Word of the day, luscious. All right, guys, let's get to this 1A D1 bracket. This is an interesting tournament outside of the top team, right, Logan? When we look at number one overall, the conversation has to start with Lapway.
Yeah, I mean, how many have they won? They won it in 2022. They won it in 2020. They won it in 2017, 2016, 2015. They played for the championship in 2014. They played for a championship in 2013. That's just the last 10 years. I mean, you look at that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 state championships and 2 more appearances. It starts with Lapway, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. But Brandon, you look at the other side with Prairie. I know if we start with just these top 2, Prairie has played for a state championship every year except for 2 since 2012. So they might not have won it. They've just happened to meet Lapway in the finals, which if it were to happen this year, it'd be the 3rd time in the last 4 years that it's happened.
Yeah, Clay, Prairie has played Lapway 9 times in the last 2 years. They played 5 times last year, twice in the regular season, twice at districts, and then for the state championship game. And then they played they actually played 4 more times so far this year. They played twice in the regular season. They met in the championship of the Avista tournament in Lewiston, where Lapway won that. And they also met in the district championship. Can Prairie climb the mountain and topple Lapway if it came to that in the championship?
They would have to play a perfect game. Lapway just looks like a monster team right now. But, you've mentioned they've played 9 times. They know each other. They know each other very well. They're familiar with each other. They're familiar with each other's styles. Prairie knows how Lapway can be beat. And if anybody can do it, I think it might be Prairie.
Yeah. Go ahead, Logan.
Well, that's the only team that Prairie has lost to, except outside. They lost their opening game to Kendrick, who's a 1A D2 qualifier. Outside of that, that's the only loss they have. And those 2 early games, one of them was a 1-possession game. And I think you're right, Clay. If anybody can do it, it would be somebody who's seen them so many times. And these Prairie players, it's not like they have not played for state championships in the past. It's not going to be a new environment for them. And so I think, maybe this is the chance for Prairie. Could be.
These are the 2 most experienced teams in this tournament,
Mm-hmm.
Prairie and Lapway, and they just happen to get paired up on opposite sides of the bracket. So I think I think the championship right now looks like it might go through Northern Idaho.
Yes, and even when you look at their first-round opponents, if we look at Lapway specifically, they play Lakeside now. And Lapway and Lakeside's boys played in the regular season. It was a pretty entertaining game, and I think a lot of boys fans are hoping for a rematch maybe in the 1A D1 championship there. I think the Lakeside girls also have the type of players that can also keep pace with Lapway's tremendous offense, especially Ariana Javier Gore. She might be the best player nobody has heard of because Lakeside plays all the way up there in Plummer, but she really can fill up the net, Logan.
Yeah, her and Kaylee Wolf averaging double digits for Lakeside. And I always say this, that if you want to win tournaments in February or March, you got to have the key players. You got to have somebody step up. And if one player decides to step up, look for those 2 for Lakeside. And you just never know. Like, that's why they play it, right? Nobody expected St. Peter's to be in the Elite 8 last year, yet there they were. I love it because everybody has a chance. And I think Lakeside, like you said, they've got some players that can get it done.
And Clay, when you look at Prairie's first-round opponent, Greenleaf Friends, the number 7 seed, obviously tragedy afflicting the entire, not just the Greenleaf community, but really it's the state of Idaho. Last Thursday, as Greenleaf Friends was preparing to play Liberty Charter in the District 3 championship game, head coach Jim Biddick and his wife, Loma, and Loma's been a volleyball coach for years at Greenleaf. And I mean, they are just, when you think of Greenleaf, you think of the Biddicks. They were on their way to the school to get the bus ready to take the team when they were hit by a driver. Nobody was wearing a seatbelt. Everybody involved in the accident was ejected from the vehicle. Tragically, Loma passed away. And this all happened in a very short amount of time, just prior to really the district championship game last Thursday. Greenleaf and Liberty decided to not play the game. Both teams were already advancing to state anyways. And this is going to be really hard emotionally for Greenleaf Friends to come together and in just such a short turnaround, now go compete at state.
But you talked about it coming together. This is, through this tragedy. Maybe it is enough to unite them to pull off an upset against Prairie. They're going to go in with a lot on their minds, but with absolutely nothing to lose. And just go in and play with maybe a little bit of swagger and see what you can do against a tough Prairie team.
And this was a team, Logan, that you and I have been touting all year on our Treasure Valley Prepcast. Even, now there's obviously external factors at play,
Right.
but just on the court, we thought Greenleaf was a team that could turn some heads and really surprise some people. Shea Olson has been a phenomenal athlete across the board.
And, you just mentioned there's a lot of players in this tournament that I think you could tout as the best player you've never heard of. Just because these girls maybe don't get as much love as the big schools, but they should. I mean, heck, you look at it per capita, who sends out the most NFL players in the state of Idaho? The 1A schools, right? It seems like that. Don't quote me on that. That's just what it seems like. But Shea Olson, a phenomenal player. This is a Greenleaf team that has not lost since December. I mean, you can't ignore that fact either, right? That they don't know what a loss looks like. It's been a long time for them. They want to come out and win that game. And it's going to be tough to do against Prairie, who, again, hasn't lost to anybody except Lapway and Kendrick. But can Greenleaf do it? Why not? Why couldn't they?
Yep. We got a comment here from Jared, big Prairie Pirates fan. Prairie Pirates have not gotten the love in the media or coaches polls. However, in the end, they hit number 2 for the tourney. They are a true blue-collar team. Lapway playing on another level, but Prairie is due for a win. I like your optimism, Jared. I will say in the coaches poll, at least, they kind of fluctuated between 2nd and 3rd all year. I don't know how much higher you could put them. They tied for 2nd in the last coaches poll with the team that's actually the number 4 seed, Logan, Grace. And this is a real dark horse, I think. Grace is a team that won the 1 year Lapway didn't win state in their recent run. Grace won the title, and they bring a tall front line. They look really good.
Yeah, they've done it before, and they've been in that. I think this will be my 3rd year of the last 4 calling the 1A Division I girls tournament. And I think back, is it Mania Clegg that played there at Grace, and she just was a force down low, and she scared them, right? In some of those games, it was not easy going for those top 2 teams against Grace. Then Grace comes back and wins that state championship. And you know what? You just throw them into the mix, and you just never know. I mean, heck, look at their football team, right? Throw them into the mix, and all of a sudden they roll their way to a state championship appearance. And you know what? That's contagious, I think, right? And you know what? Again, why not? They're going to go up against Oakley in that first round, and that might be a barn burner of a game.
Yeah, Clay, Oakley comes in as the 5 seed. This to me is the most intriguing first round matchup, that 4-5. Oakley fans, not a big fan of the Max Preps rankings. They beat Raft River 2 out of 3 times. They split in the regular season, won the district championship over Raft River, and yet they're looking up, and Raft River's a 3 seed, and they're a 5. This is a Hornets team that defends. Man, they make it really tough to score. And
you said it there. That matchup's going to be the fun one to watch. That 4-5 team. Grace won the 2 matchups that they had this year, but they were competitive games. First one by 4 points, the second one by 10. But Oakley's a tough team, and they're going to come in, like I said earlier, with a chip on their shoulder, looking to prove that 5 ranking was undeserved. That they should have been ranked maybe a little bit higher than that.
Yeah, and Oakley won the Snake River Conference this year, which had like 6 teams at one point that were all ranked in the coaches poll. Not all at the same time, but 6 different teams were ranked, in the coaches poll at some point. So they survived this league with Cary and Raft River and Murtaugh and Lighthouse Christian, and they knocked them all back. And so Oakley to me is the most battle-tested team coming into state.
If you look, sorry, I'm jumping in here. If you look at Oakley, like who have they lost to this year, right? They lost to Raft River. Okay. They lost to Grace and then they lost one to Rockland, who is dominant in the D2 level. Like not a bad loss thrown in there for them. I just think that I think I looked at it, the 1 through the 5. I don't think any of them lost to a team that is not at state. They do not have a bad loss on their record. And so it'll be interesting 1 through 5 for sure.
Yes. And then finally, let's talk about Raft River and Liberty Charter. Raft River also plays exceptional defense. They've got Caroline Schumann down low, who's an anchor defensively. Liberty Charter, perennial state participant. Coach Brad McCain trying to get his team over the hump. They always get to state, but they can't ever seem to put that first foot forward. And so what does Liberty have to do, Logan, if they want to take out Raft River?
Score. Honestly, like I think you got to score. I mean, Raft River's defense, I mean, you talked about it. They're only allowing 34 points a game. And I think if you look up and down the list of the teams here, it's going to be who can score the ball because the defenses are going to show up. I mean, Grace is only allowing 35, Lakeside 36, Oakley 26, Raft River 34, Liberty Charter 30, Greenleaf 27. These are how much they're allowing per game. And I think if Liberty Charter wants to win, they got to score. I mean, you could say that for everybody, but I think specifically against Raft River and that league that they played in, you got to score.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to ask both of you guys, Logan first, who is your favorite and who is your dark horse in this bracket?
Lapway. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I know that's the easy answer. But it's true. I mean, what if they haven't shown me any reason to not pick them to win the state championship again? I mean, their only loss this year was to Melba, right? And Melba is unbelievably good, and they're younger than they have been. But I just think that they're good, and they're going to get it done. But the dark horse. I mean, it sounds cliche, but Prairie as the 2. That's how dominant Lapway is that your dark horse has to be the number 2 seed. But like Clay said, I just think that they know how to get it done. They've seen Lapway so many times, and they have a couple of players on their team that I think that just can step up. Like Kristen Wemhoff, she is averaging almost 20 points per game. And I just think she is a senior. She's played in now 2 of her 3 years. She's played in a state championship game. This could potentially be her 3rd of 4 years playing in a state championship game, and they want to get it done. I think they're tired of that. And so I think Prairie has a real big chip on their shoulder to get there.
Yeah, Logan. And one of my favorite players from state last year, you and I did this 1A D1 tournament, Tara Schlater from Prairie as well. She reminds me of Dennis Rodman, the way she rebounds the basketball. It's an art form with Tara Schlater. Clay, who's your favorite? Who's your dark horse?
Favorite, not to be the dead horse, but Lapway. They've just looked amazing. Even with that loss against Melba, it was a close game. Mm-hmm. And they hung with what could be the best team in the state. Lots of people would put Melba up against just about anybody and like their chances. My dark horse, I'm going to go with Raft River. With the way they play defense, if they can come out and just shut a couple teams down, why can't they make it to the title game?
That'd be fun for sure. Here's Jody Reeves with the bold prediction for the championship. Grace versus Prairie, with the Grizzlies winning it all. I love it. I love the prediction, Jody. Real quick, guys, before we duck out too, we want to highlight our 1A D1 players to watch. We selected one player from every team, not an exhaustive list by any stretch, just a jumping off point. But here's our 1A D1 players to watch. Tenley Walker of Grace in the district championship over Butte County. She had 14 points and 7 steals in one game. Shay Olson, Greenleaf, we talked about her. Ariana Javier Gore from Lakeside. Jordan, if you like hyphenated names here, Javier Gore and McCormick Marks. There's 2 McCormick Marks on Lapway. Jordan is a junior. Jalen is a freshman. Their mom, Ada Marks, is the head coach. Jordan is the reigning 1A D1 tournament MVP. She won that honor as a sophomore last year. Jennabelle Reese from Liberty Charter can really shoot it. Fallon Bedke from Oakley, the 6-footer underneath. Kristen Wemhoff, the great point guard for Prairie. And Caroline Schumann, another great center for Raft River. Clay, which player are you most excited to watch?
McCormick Marks. I haven't had a chance to see Lapway play this year, and I'm excited to see what they can do on the court. Looking at the scores is one thing, but to see them live in action is going to be something else. I'm really excited about that.
Logan?
Give me Shay. I'm on the Shay train. Shay Olson. I think that if something happens, if a player gets hot and creates an upset, that it's going to come from Shay Olson. And I think, again, that she's probably one of the best players nobody's ever heard of, and she's going to get a chance on a big stage to show off what she's all about.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be a lot of fun to check in on that 1A D1 tournament for sure. Logan Green and Clay Hatfield will be bringing you the action all weekend long from the 1A D1 state tournament. Guys, have a good call. Thanks for joining us here. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back with the 1A D2 state tournament with my man, Gary Jones. It's on the other side of this break on the IdahoSports.com girls basketball state tournament preview show here on IdahoSports.com.
A hit in the morning, another between class, after school, and more before bed. Vaping sucks you in quick. Not to mention all the chemicals and health problems everyone's talking about. That's why thousands of teens are ready to take back their life their own way with My Life, My Quit. When you sign up with us, you'll get a free and simple quit plan that makes it easier to stop vaping. Visit mylifemyquit.com or text Start My Quit to 36072.
Welcome back to the IdahoSports.com girls basketball state tournament preview show. Brandon Bainey joined now by Gary Jones. He will be broadcasting with his brother Glenn Jones for the 1A D2 state tournament. Gary, how are you tonight? Uh-oh, Gary, you've got your mic on mute or something. I can't hear you. Oh, no. See, this is what happens when you're at the end of the line like Gary here on the 1A D2, is we didn't have a chance to check it out before ahead of time. All right, well, while Gary's figuring out that mic, I'm gonna pivot and bring in Paul Kingsbury as well. He was warming up in the bullpen for the 5A preview, which is coming up shortly. But you're a good person to talk to about this 1A D2 tournament as well, because you were on the call for the District 3 championship game last week.
Yeah.
Where Council played Garden Valley. So you're a good person to bring on as well. So let's start by saying that all of my 1A D2 fans that are watching, throw a comment in the chat. Favorite team, favorite player, give them a shout out, and we'll throw your comment up on the screen. Gary, you back with us?
It's the best he's ever sounded.
Oh, no.
We can say whatever we want right now, and he can't defend himself.
All right, Gary, I'm going to kick you out, and you re-sign in and click that link, and we'll see if that fixes it or not. I'm going to kick you out here. All right, Paul, let's go ahead and take a look at this bracket.
Okay.
The 1A D2 bracket here. Number 1 overall seed is not Rockland, the defending champions. Rockland, it was kind of fascinating to watch. Rockland had been the number 1 team in the Max Preps rankings all year long, and then they started district tournament play, and we thought, okay, Rockland's locked in as the 1. But since their conference is so big, they got a jump start on districts ahead of everybody else. And so Deary actually, because of, I think it was an opponent that they had played, Deary played somebody, that team got a win that boosted their Max Preps rating enough to vault Deary into the number 1 spot. Even though they didn't win their district, Deary comes in as the number 1 overall seed. What do you think?
You know what? I think that I'm not sold on this new way of doing things as much as other people are. In the old days, it was a pre-seeded bracket, and so really the regular season didn't matter a whole lot. It was what happened in districts. Now districts don't matter a whole lot. It's all about what you do in the regular season, and then you play your whole districts in order to get a trophy. But really, as far as the state tournament goes, you're risking injury, you're risking 3 or 4 other games. So I don't know, there's got to be some middle ground there. But so, coming in at the very end, and I mean, it's always a shock, like a Deary, when a team that you played, 6 weeks ago beats a team that might have played 4 weeks. I mean, it's a crapshoot the whole way around, but here we are, and Deary's number 1.
Yep. I think I hear Gary now. Gary?
Yeah, I think I fixed it.
Oh, look at that. Tech wizard, Gary Jones. All right.
Not really.
Not really. All right.
Can I go back to the green room? I was finishing a sandwich back there.
Yeah. Go ahead and get lost. We'll see you later, Paul.
Bye.
Hasta la vista. All right, Gary, we've already got comments rolling in here from our 1A D2 fans, specifically from Jeff. He says Rockland Bulldogs, and he says Ledor, also a dark horse, Gary. So Rockland is the defending champs. They've won 2 of the last 3 1A D2 championships. They're sitting there as the number 2 seed overall, and I think they got a tough draw. Rockland and Kendrick, to me, are the two best teams, and there they are on the same side of the bracket as the 2 and 3 seed. What do you think?
Boy, when I first looked at this thing, I was amazed at the Max Prep rankings, to be honest with you. I was the first one, and loudest guy to say seed these tournaments. I just don't know if we have the best seeding because it's far different what the coaches have voted. The coaches have voted Rockland and Kendrick 1 and 2, and Max Prep has Rockland and Kendrick 2 and 3. They have Council at 6. That one really surprised me because Council has 5 losses, but 2 of them are to Grangeville, a 2A school, 2 of them are to McCall, a 3A school, and the other loss is Lapway. So I thought Council at the 6th seed was really low. And Deary is ranked 4th in the coaches poll, and they're number 1 in Max Prep. I would just like to know how Max Prep is doing it. That's all. I just want to know what's their formula.
Yeah, it's like the KFC 11 herbs and spices. You'll be a dead man before you ever figure that out. Okay, so I agree. I think an easy solution to this is the way that the 4A football playoffs ran their postseason until this past year, where, you know, the 5 districts, those 5 district champions automatically get the top 5 seeds. Now, you can still seed those 5 teams by their max preps. And then your 3 at-large teams, or your 3 non-district champs, get 6, 7, and 8 automatically. I think that's a good compromise, but another topic for another day. So this Deary team on the bottom half of the bracket, do they have what it takes to get to the championship game?
Well, Max Prep certainly thinks they do. One thing I noticed about this tournament when I first looked at it is that there are 5 teams coming back from last year, and 4 of them won medals. Rockland and Council are back. They met in the state championship game, and Rockland won. Deary's coming back. They won 3rd over Richfield last year. Kendrick's coming back, and they beat Ledore for the Constellation Championship. Ledore is the returning team that didn't win a game last year. They were 0 for 2. But they're my dark horse because they're the smallest public school in Idaho. And who doesn't root for somebody like that? I mean, everybody, I talked to the secretary and got names, and I asked her how many kids they had in high school. She told me 54. So they have to draw all their sporting events, all their at teams. I don't know how many sports they run, but they only got 54 kids to pick from. So when a team like Ledore goes to state, it's kind of a cool thing. And that'd be my dark horse. But Rockland has won. Let me look at my notes here. Rockland has won 9 games in a row. They're defending champs. They haven't, I mean, until somebody beats Rockland, I don't know how you don't put Rockland number 1. They didn't lose a lot last year, and they're back with a terrific record, 20 and 3. The only other team that's pretty hot right now, too, is Dietrich. They've won 14 games in a row. And Dietrich has a lot of history in girls basketball if you go way back to A.C. Shaw. And they've won a lot of championships. So I'm not surprised to see Dietrich back in the mix again.
Yeah, and they had been on a little bit of a drought in terms of getting to state. It had been a couple years for Dietrich, so it's nice to see them back in the mix. We got a lot of Ledore fans here, Gary. Doug and Tanya say go Ledore. And we've got Janet Perul, the head coach of the Ledore Lady Mustangs and the athletic director as well. Ledore won a game last year. I think what you meant to say, Gary, was Ledore was the team that didn't get a medal in the.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Ledore got to that consolation final where they fell short.
That's right. My bad.
And everyone will remember last year, Kendrick and Deary had to play each other in the opening round at state, and Kendrick was the team that had beaten Deary twice in the regular season, but Deary was the team that got him at state. So that was an interesting first round matchup a year ago. We don't have any of that this year. Let's talk about Clark Fork, the Wampus Cats. They come in as the champions from District 1. They obviously are well acclaimed in volleyball over the past couple of years. It's a lot of those same athletes now playing in basketball. And call me crazy, I don't know if I'm picking 1-8 seed throughout this whole weekend to get a win in the opening round, I'm putting it on the Wampus Cats.
Well, first of all, they got one of the coolest nicknames in Idaho, the Wampus Cat. I just love it. But if you look at their record, they're 7 and 12, and this 1A D2 bracket is stacked. Rockland and Dietrich are both 20 and 3. Deary's 17 and 2. Kendrick 16 and 2. Council's 14 and 5, and I told you there are 5 losses coming against teams that are much larger than them. Ledore's 19 and 4. I mean, is there really a dark horse in all those records? I don't think so. So maybe, Clark Fork is the true dark horse by way of their record. They're just 7-12. They're the only team under 500 in this tournament.
Yeah, and they have to play a lot of schools that are bigger than them just because of geography and where they're located. So they do take a lot of losses. Dylan Hart says Council is underestimated and has 4 returning starters, lots of height, speed, and experienced coaching. Oh, one of the best in Paula Tucker for sure. And Council, yes, as the 6th. Gary, I'm looking at this and really, like, if I'm looking at this logistically, 3 of the top 4, definitely top 5 teams are all in this top half of the bracket with Rockland, Kendrick, and Council. That's going to be a slobber knocker to see who emerges.
It really is. And Council's the one team I've seen in all these 8 that are going to state. I went up and did their district championship game. And I mean, they looked really, really good. They've got a good center, Michaela Hart, who is ambidextrous. She can shoot just as well with her left hand as she can her right. And Council wants to run you to death. They want to fast break you, and they also shoot a lot of threes. In fact, I noticed Paula Tucker had a drill before the game. And I talked to my brother Glenn. We were both sitting there, but we weren't on the air yet. And I said, look at this drill they're doing. I've never seen anybody do it. And it was a shooting drill where every player shoots a 3-pointer and goes after their own rebound. I mean, every player. There was the big center, Michaela Hart, was shooting those threes too. It was a drill where you only shot threes, and they did it for like 3 minutes or so. I thought it was interesting that anything Paula Tucker does is good because that girl's one heck of a coach.
Yes, great athletic director there at Council as well. And then tell me a little bit about Garden Valley, the 7 seed, tall order right away. They've got a lot of multi-sport athletes, a lot of girls that also cheerlead. Gracie Castillo famously wrestles and also plays basketball. What do you make of Garden Valley?
They've got a really good player in Cadence Jacobs. She's a 5'5" junior who really runs around the court with the ball a lot. They got blown out by Council in the first half. I mean, I can't remember the score, but even in the first quarter, they almost got down by 20 because Council just roared ahead of Garden Valley. And you think they might quit and go, they lost by 30 points the first 2 times they played Council. So there should be a little quit in them when Council started smashing them again in the first half of that championship game. But they came back out. They actually outscored Council in the second half. And they came back and got the game in single digits, ended up losing by 14 or 15. But it showed me that they had a lot of they had a lot of gumption to stay with it. They weren't going to be blown away by the scoreboard. So, and they'd already lost to this team handily twice. So there was no quit in Garden Valley. I can tell you that.
So I think you already said your favorite is kind of Rockland and your dark horse is Council. I will say my favorite is Kendrick. I really like the Tigers. They got all the way to the championship 2 years ago and came up just short. And then, of course, got knocked off by Deary in the first round last year. And my dark horse is Ledor. I could easily see Ledor in the championship game. They've got Mackenzie Mackey, Sadie Bird, 2 dynamic players. It wouldn't surprise me if it's Rockland Ledor, maybe an all East Idaho final. We'll have to wait and see there.
They got a solid record, 19-4 as a number 5 seed in the Max Prep. So, like I said, I kind of like the root for Ledor because they are the smallest public school in Idaho. I think there's some smaller private schools, but they're the smallest public school. So you kind of have to root for them.
And their backs were against the wall. They'd lost to Mackey in the regular season. They'd lost to Mackey in the district semifinals. They played Mackey on Saturday night in the 3rd place game for that second and final bid to state. And Ledor got it done when it counted most. So that was such a big win for them. And Mackey was a team that was deserving to be here at state. That's just the way the bids and the representation go, and bummer for Mackey for sure. Here's our 1A D2 players to watch, Gary. We picked 1 from each team. And again, we could have listed, 5, 6 from every squad. We've got Emily Myers from Clark Fork, Michaela Hart, the great ambidextrous center for Council, Trinity Wood of Deary, Haley Estelle from Dietrich, a great athlete, Gracie Castillo from Garden Valley. She's also a phenomenal wrestler. Haley Taylor, the point guard for Kendrick, Mackenzie Mackey of Ledor we just talked about, and Taylor Boyer of Rockland. She's Kearsley Boyer's younger sister. Which player are you most excited to watch at state?
Probably Taylor Boyer from Rockland, because I remember from last year. Like I remember a lot of these players from last year, Trinity Wood and Michaela Hart. But Rockland was a fun team to watch. They just play really well, and they play good defense. Especially, the boys, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, won last year too.
Yes.
So they pulled off the daily double. And both teams are similar. They play really good defense, and they are very efficient on offensive. So I remember Taylor Boyer. I'm looking forward to seeing her again.
Yeah, among new players, Gary, I think you'll be pleased with Haley Estelle for Dietrich. She's a really fun player to watch as well. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are after the state tournament. But that's the 1A D2 state tournament. A Jones sandwich. Gary Jones and Glenn Jones on the call.
Here's what they're all playing for. I put it on again. I got my championship ring out.
Yeah, go ahead and hold that up to the camera, Gary.
Let's see. It's my baseball state championship ring. I won in '94.
At New
from
Plymouth
Jostens. Everybody wants to get the ring, and then you're immortal. As soon as you win one, they can't ever take it away from you. And that was actually what hit me when we finally won. I thought, I finally did it, and they can't take it away.
Yeah, a lot of coaches that are used to winning a lot of games at this 1A D2 state tournament. Of course, only one can hold up that blue Plofie, I call it, the plaque trophy, the Plofie.
But I want to slip in one last thing. And the power rankings, which are so accurate on IdahoSports.com, Dietrich should win state. They're the number one ranked power rank team with their algorithm.
Okay. Hey, we'll see if Dietrich wins. That's right. The power rankings for IdahoSports.com called it first. All right, Gary, thanks for doing this. We really appreciate it.
We'll see you.
All right, we will wrap up now with the 5A state tournament preview right after this break. You're watching the 2023 Idaho Girls Basketball State Tournament preview special on IdahoSports.com.
Taking the hard path isn't always easy. It takes courage and determination to do hard things. Quitting tobacco and vaping is possible.
You decide when. We'll show you how. Learn more at projectfilter.org or call 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
All right, welcome back to the IdahoSports.com Girls Basketball State Tournament Preview Special on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account. Our last breakdown of the night, the 5A State Tournament. Let's bring in, with matching hats, Smokey the Bear and Smokey's helper. It's Paul Kingsbury and Scott Burton. What's going on, you chuckleheads?
We've been called worse by better people.
Yes, we have. And we did not plan that, by the way. That just happened.
Yeah, it's just the way it happens when we work together. It's uncanny, really.
And you know what? And the subtitles?
I didn't even see you did that.
I didn't even notice. I mean, I was doing it because I just think so highly of Paul.
We should do a DNA test and see if we were twins.
Yeah, real left right here, guys. Scott, are you wearing your lapel mic?
I am.
Yeah, you want to move that a little closer, a little higher up? We're having a hard time hearing you.
That's not always a bad thing, Brandon.
That's, well, I mean, I wasn't going to say it, but all right. We've got some residual 1A D2 comments rolling in. Rachel says, go Dietrich. That's a team we've talked about a lot this year on the Magic Valley Prepcast, Scott, for sure at the 1A D2 level. Friendly reminder to all of our 5A fans that are watching, give your favorite team or player a shout out. We'll throw it up on the screen. And while you're checking out our 5A breakdown, if you're on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, hit that like button if you would, and also share this because not everybody could be here live tonight. And they want to check it out tomorrow, Wednesday, or maybe even Thursday morning before the action really gets going. They'll have a much easier time finding this with the algorithms and all that stuff if you like it and share it. So thanks for doing that. All right, gentlemen, let's break down this 5A state basketball tournament. I'm going to throw the bracket up on the screen here. There it is. Paul, right away, what's the first thing that stands out to you when you look at this bracket?
There's so many good teams on this bracket, up and down, looking at, and you can look at records, but also looking at who's beaten who and who's played who. You look at Coeur d'Alene. I mean, I think that's a pretty valid number one seed, but Boise might argue that. And they're at number 4. Boise's beaten, half the teams on this bracket in the regular season. Timberline coming in at number 6. Well, they're the defending champions. I mean, sure, they lost Sophie Clancy, Audrey Taylor, but they've got a lot back. They've got a freshman that's, almost averaging a double-double. A lot of youth on that Timberline team, and they're coached by Andy Jones. And any team coached by Andy Jones, I tend to bet on. And by the way, I bet on the Chiefs and won. So you can't really. I'm kind of 1 for 1 this weekend. Can't beat that. But just up and down. Seriously, up and down. This you have to take that number in front of all the teams away, and just play the games. I'm looking at potentially, and they tried to with the new rankings and seeding, they tried to get away from having that state championship in the semifinals, and you're not going to get away from that in this 5A bracket because the teams that make the semifinals, they're all going to be deserving of a championship. I mean, Boise, Coeur d'Alene, I see them going into that semifinal on the bottom side of the bracket. I mean, those two teams, I'm really excited to see that. And even on the other side of the bracket, the teams to lose, those are going to be great games. I mean, there's not a snoozer on this bracket. I mean, sometimes you get those matchups where you're like, well, that's going to be a long game. But Eagle, yeah, sure, they're number 8, but they're not a number 8. It just happened to be that they have to order them 1 through 8, and that's where they landed. So top to bottom, there's a lot of good teams on this 5A bracket.
Scott, what's the first thing that jumps out to you on this bracket?
Well, I mean, just to kind of echo what Paul said, there are 5 teams in this tournament that have 20+ wins. I mean, this field is legit. And I think you can really shuffle these teams around and make an argument for whatever the bracket kind of shakes out and who plays who. The thing that kind of stands out to me a little bit is Thunder Ridge, who struggled down the stretch. They have 2 losses, both to Rigby. Had to get a play-in game against Mountain View to get here. And they were the number 2 ranked team in the coaches poll that just kind of stumbled down the stretch. Well, if they're able to get by number 7 Rocky and Rigby wins as well, here we go again. Thunder Ridge taking on Rigby, who is the only team to have beaten Thunder Ridge this year. So that matchup really kind of stands out to me a little bit as well. But, you look at, Paul brought it up, the defending champs, Timberline at 20-5, they've got losses to Eagle, Owyhee, and Boise, all 3 of them in this tournament. And these teams that are in this tournament, they have kind of beaten each other.
Yeah.
But you can't help but look at Coeur d'Alene, and we talk about this all the time, whether it's 5A, 4A, whatever. Teams out of the North tend to always kind of be that little, mystery machine because you don't know what you're getting. But this Coeur d'Alene team, 21-2, and their 2 losses are to California teams, including a very popular team that most people in high school sports have heard about, Mater Dei. And other than that Coeur d'Alene team, with all their wins, 21 wins, only 2 of them have been in single digits. Every win, 19 of them, have been double digits or more. So, I mean,
they've also beaten Eagle and Rocky.
Yes,
as far as cross opponents. Really nobody else on here, but they're on the bracket and they beat them. So, yeah, I mean, what Scott said, they beat each other. They're good. They're the number 1 for a reason. I think that worked out. I think a 1B is probably Boise, in my opinion, but it's going to be close.
A lot of familiarity amongst these teams, as you guys talked about. Eagle specifically, their coach, Jeremy Monroe, emailed me a couple weeks back and said,
is he still the coach? Yeah. Is Jeremy still there?
Yeah.
And he told me, he goes, hey, if you need help with your 5A power rankings, I'm your guy because I've seen them all. He has played every team in this field except for Rigby. He's seen Thunder Ridge. He's seen Coeur d'Alene. He even saw Lake City and Post Falls from up north who didn't make it to state that could have been here, certainly. So, and he told me, he goes, the team that's legit and real is Coeur d'Alene. And wouldn't you know it, that's who Eagle gets right out of the gate. Eagle is a team that won that play-in game over Lake City. I don't think many people gave Eagle a chance to advance out of that game, Paul. So that was a huge victory for Eagle. And I guess they're on a tour of slaying teams from the North. They took out Lake City. Why not Coeur d'Alene?
And why not? And that's where, any given Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, each of these teams could beat the other team, Eagle included. So, and I was just kidding about Jeremy. Great coach. But you're right.
Jeremy coached under me when I was varsity coach here. And, he's an energetic coach. He's got him playing well down the stretch. I mean, this is an Eagle team that started the season 0-6. and really was trying to find an identity. And then they rattled off 5 in a row, and then they just started continuously battling and playing better down the stretch. So, a lot of times we look at the numbers, like you said, Paul, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's not always about that. It's sometimes about who's playing the best coming down the stretch, because you can get a team.
Yep.
And I bring Thunder Ridge into this conversation, who basically cruise, and all of a sudden they're not supposed to be in a play-in game to get to state, but here they are.
Right.
And they're 24-2. And you look at that overall record and you're like, well, they have been cruising all year. Well, look down the stretch. How do teams finish? And it tells a different story sometimes.
Speaking of finishes, on the opposite end, Scott already touched on it. Thunder Ridge went undefeated in the regular season, then lost twice in a row to Rigby, including by 20 in the district championship game at Rigby's place.
Yeah.
Now, they took care of business in their play-in game against Mountain View. By the way, shot of the year, Destiny Thompson from Mountain View in that loser-out game at districts against CUNA, hitting that beyond half-court shot as time expired. But Thunder Ridge wins the game they need to, Paul. Can they get it turned around in time? Because I look at their half of the bracket, and I really think whether it's Rigby or Timberline that they would meet in the semifinals, both games are tricky.
They are very, very tricky. And I think they have pulled it together. Looking at it, my notes here, Aspen Caldwell, she's a senior, she's 5'7", but she's a shooter. And it's not just any particular spot. She shoots outside. She shoots inside the 3-point line. She shoots underneath the hoop. I mean, she is a scorer all the way around. Kennedy Stenquist, Marley Spencer, Montana Western commit. They've got players that know how to play. And yeah, they beat Rigby twice, and then they lost to Rigby twice. I'm sure they're not really jonesing real hard to get back to Rigby in the semifinals. I think it would almost be a detriment to. I don't like seeing those regular season conference opponents play in the semifinals. I'm not a fan of that. But in the 5A, it always happens that way because there's so many 5A SIC teams. So if they come through, and I think Timberline, even though they're a 6, I mean, a lot of times you see the 3 and the 6 and go, that's going to be the honor of the day. And that's not the case this time. I actually see Timberline playing very well in that one, and possibly coming out beating them. So I think both semifinals are going to be good. I think Thunder Ridge is going to be in that top half of the bracket in the semifinals. I think it's going to be a struggle to get out of the semis for them, but I think it's possible.
Yeah, I like Timberline over Rigby in the first round. Rigby fans are going to hate that, but I don't know. Timberline has a lot of players back from last year's team, and are capable of making that run for sure. Coeur d'Alene, though, I agree with you guys. Their focus is so laser sharp right now. They very famously missed out on state last year after kind of having a similar regular season. They ran roughshod through their district up north. They were the number 1 seed at districts. They lost to Lake City and Post Falls in back-to-back games. And just like that, they didn't even have the chance to play their way into state in a play-in game. One of the best teams in Idaho left at home. And because of that, Paul, like Scott said earlier, Coeur d'Alene to me is the overwhelming favorite. I think like we're going to see in 2 weeks on the boys' side with Lake City, because of a stumble and a stubbed toe last year, their focus is laser sharp and look out.
Yeah. With Maddie Simons, Tegan Colvin, it's really a two-headed monster between those two. And those are going to be exciting players to watch. In fact, up and down. You look at the points per game for these teams. I mean, Coeur d'Alene is, I think, got the most. It's almost 62 points a game. And Thunder Ridge is right there as well. Basically, I think that in every game, and I'm going to keep track of this, I think the first team to 50 wins, no matter what the game is. Whoever gets to 50 first wins, because they all average above. I think the lowest one is Eagle, and I think they average 46 points a game. So there's a lot of points are going to be scored in this 5A girls tournament. There's going to be a lot of threes taken. Whether they hit them, that's to be seen, just because it's a much different court than they're used to playing on. But I like the action of all these teams. Looking at the stats and looking at the players, it's fast paced, it's energetic basketball, and they're not afraid to wing it. They've got the green light from outside the arc anytime they want. And that's the kind of basketball I love to watch.
And another thing that is really interesting with the 5A tournaments, because they're all played at the Idaho Center. And the Idaho Center is such a different venue if you've never played in it before, because I mean, these teams are so used to being in these enclosed spaces, backdrops behind the backboards and whatnot. And 4 of these teams are brand new to the state tournament. You know, so it's always interesting to see how they adapt to that surrounding. And, you know, playing here, there is some experience that does carry you through the 5As, especially, I think, at least in my experience of broadcasting these tournaments, is that if teams need to kind of get acclimated to their settings. And, you know, you look at Thunder Ridge. They were the consolation champions last year when they beat Post Falls. You know, Rocky, they're new this year. Rigby lost in their 3rd place game to Lake City last year. Timberline, you know, talked about them already. Defending state champs beat Boise 36-35. And well, Boise's back in it. And then Owyhee wasn't here. Coeur d'Alene wasn't here. And Eagle wasn't here. So let's see if that plays a part at all. Be interesting to see.
Yeah, that was the one team I was going to ask you about next, Paul, is Owyhee. You mentioned Tegan Colvin, the great point guard for Coeur d'Alene. She transferred in from Washington State. Owyhee, of course, had Sid Rodriguez transfer from Bora to Owyhee, and I read this somewhere, and I can't remember where it was, but then she was ruled basically not eligible for the postseason. And so that's something that Owyhee had to adjust to. And yet it didn't really alter them that much. They still got a top 4 finish at districts in that auto bid. This is a young Owyhee team.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Well, like you said, they're young. I mean, they've got, you know, Josie Davis, defensive specialist, as a sophomore. I think she led the SIC in steals last year. If I saw that correctly. So I'm a defense guy. And so I appreciate good defense. So I'm looking forward to seeing her. But like you said, you know, Sid Rodriguez, just a junior, almost 13 points a game. Roy, a sophomore, 9 points a game. And these are 5A SIC schools that are, you know, starting sophomores. They're playing freshmen, you know, led by juniors, and they're in the state tournament. So, you know, what that means is we're going to be seeing these teams in the next year or two as well as those players develop. And Owyhee being such a new school, you know, you're kind of used to seeing teams like that have young kids. What you don't expect to see is them be at state in almost every single sport and winning state in everything they do. I mean, Owyee's just this anomaly that they hit, you know, the Idaho sports scene. You know, they hit the ground running, and they really haven't stopped. So this Owyhee team, they're young, but they're very, very, very talented with a lot of potential in the next year or two.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's take a look at our 5A players to watch. This is, again, not a comprehensive list by any stretch. We picked one player from every team. Avery Howell, the 6-footer from Boise, such a phenomenal athlete.
Yes.
Maddie Simmons from Coeur d'Alene. She is committed to the University of Wyoming, Division I school in the Mountain West. Paige Kofer of Eagle, great guard out front. Josie Davis, you just mentioned, from Owyhee, Paul. Cambry Barber from Rigby. That spelling is wrong. I will tell you that right now, Paul. It's Cambry with a K and then 2 E's at the end. She's the daughter of head coach Todd Barber.
Man, that guy's fired.
Yeah. Brielle Magnuson of Rocky Mountain. Scott, you mentioned Rocky new to state this year. Brielle is not, though. She was at state as a member of the Post Falls Trojans 2 years ago. And then she moved from Post Falls to Rocky Mountain. And so Brielle Magnuson back at state for Rocky. Aspen Caldwell, Idaho Vandal commit for Thunder Ridge, and Piper Davis of Timberline. Yeah. Scott, which player are you most excited to watch?
Well, here's the thing. And, you know, having seen these state tournaments, broadcast them, coached in them, there is a common denominator when you get to state, and it does hold true to both boys and girls, and that is how much can you produce in the paint? Because you are out of your own comfort zone, you're out of your own gymnasium, and so 2 people jump out to me as potential really difference makers in this tournament. Avery Howell for Boise, the 6-foot junior, averaging 20 points a game and 12 boards. I mean, this is a double-double every time she steps onto the floor. And you can't afford to foul her either because she shoots 78% from the free throw line.
Yep.
You know, so this is a player that can get it done inside and out. And she also is not afraid to jack up a 3. So that's one that jumps out to me. And this is a team that has been to the state title game. They lost by a point last year. Maybe they have a little chip on their shoulder. I don't know. But the other one that jumps out is Cambry Barber from Rigby, the other 6-foot junior post, because if you are going to advance in this tournament, you better figure out how to score in the paint, because you're not always going to get it done from the perimeter. And that's why those two things jump out to me.
Yeah, and the list of suitors lining up for Avery Howell's services: Hawaii, Pacific, Gonzaga, no shortage of teams that are clamoring for Avery Howell's services. And again, New Mexico. I mean, she is only a junior, so that's only going to increase next year. Paul, which player are you most excited to see?
Well, I wish you would have asked me first, because I had Avery Howell, and it was really because she's 6 foot, she's a junior, and she shoots 36% from the 3-point line. And it's not like she's shot five 3-pointers. I mean, she's 23 for 64. So like Scott said, she's not afraid to jack them up. And that is exciting basketball to me. Now, the other one, part 1B is Maddie Simons. And the reason why is, so she got, her 1,000 points, end of her sophomore year, beginning of her junior year. I mean, it was a long time ago in her past that she got 1,000 points in her career. And one thing that I've seen at state tournaments over the years and years we've done this, sometimes those big time scorers don't, when they get to state, and they struggle a little bit for whatever reason. And so I'm interested to see Maddie Simons, who comes in as, one of the with that reputation of being such a big scorer, does it during these games. So we'll see how this turns out. But yeah, I was in the Avery Howell camp as well, just because I like seeing the big shoot.
a couple of parent-daughter coaching duos, the Barbers at Rigby, and of course Nicole Simmons, the coach at Coeur d'Alene, as well, and her daughter is Maddie. So yeah, no matter how you slice it, this 5A tournament is going to be fantastic, and that's why we put our very best on it, Scott and Paul. So, and
you saved the best for last. You saved the best for last tonight.
Yeah, you know what? We're going to forgive you of all the diva comments that you were throwing at us earlier today. I still did not get the purple Skittles waiting for me. I do expect them when I get to the Idaho Center, Brandon.
Yeah, they'll be purple, all right, but it'll be because I've sucked all the red out of the red ones, and it's just the faint purple color that's left.
Fantastic.
Yep. All right. Well, big thanks to everybody that tuned in to watch tonight, our live Idaho girls basketball state tournament preview show. This isn't going anywhere. If you weren't able to catch it live, you can always watch it on replay at the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account. We will also be publishing this into every podcast feed, whether you listen to the North Idaho Prepcast, the Treasure Valley Prepcast, the Magic Valley Prepcast, or the East Idaho Prepcast. We're going to put the audio version of this podcast into your podcast feed. You should see it sometime tomorrow. And so you can listen to it. If you want to go on a 1 hour and 42-minute run somewhere, you can you can listen to that tomorrow. Or
like in a row, like all that, in a row.
I don't think anybody does that. No.
Who does that? Jeez, unless you're being chased. But even then, who chases you for that long? Hey, I have one more thing. I may have misspoke, because I think I may have said Rocky was not at the state tournament last year, and I think they were. So I'm not 100% sure what I said, but I just don't want the hate mail from Rocky saying that I got them wrong.
They were not at state last year.
Okay. So anyway, but going to be a great tournament. We are looking very forward to this. There are so many good teams and good players. So
yep, absolutely.
Yep. All right. Well, from 5A all the way down to 1A D2, we will have every nanosecond of state tournament action for you this weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday on IdahoSports.com. To find the game you want to listen to, just click on the Game Streams tab on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. And while you're there, we've got all the brackets. We're going to have scouting reports. We're going to have everything you need to get ready. If this primer wasn't enough for you, we got more data at the homepage, IdahoSports.com. You can check it all out there. All right. For Paul Kingsbury and Scott Burton and everybody who tuned in tonight and everybody who contributed, I'm Brandon Maney. We'll see you at state. Oh my gosh, it's finally here. We'll see you for a wild 3 days in Boise. Thanks for tuning in on IdahoSports.com.